related to contemplated or pending litigation and in accordance with section 551.071 of the government code. Hani, Tohme versus City of Omaha. We will now recess into executive session and we will return and convene shortly.
This thing,
You're
Mayor,
out of order.
Mayor Watts, and I'm going to object to going into executive session. We want an open session, and I have the right to make that request.
We will have an open session, sir, as soon as we reconvene.
All right, very good.
Thank you. We will return shortly. Good afternoon. We will now convene a name clearing hearing to provide Dr. Hani Tohme an opportunity to publicly address any alleged public disclosure necessary to clear his name as it may pertain to his assignment and or termination from the City of Beaumont. I'd like to remind everyone, excuse me just a minute, please. I'm going to open the public hearing. Just one moment, please, sir.
Okay. Can I just stand here while we wait?
You may.
Thank you.
Okay. I would like to remind everyone that we'll go by the guidelines that we do in all council meetings for speakers, and that orderly conduct, no cheering, clapping, etc. This is a hearing and for that purpose only. Hani Tohme believes that there may have been stigmatizing statements made in the public in connection with his change in employment status with the city, which he feels have been detrimental to him in some way. This is an opportunity for Hani Tohme to publicly refute any such public disclosure necessary to clear his name with regard to his employment with the city. Dr. Tohme, you will have 45 minutes to present whatever information you deem sufficient to clear your name. You can do this yourself or have others make statements. I assume Mr. Watts is going to do that on behalf or submit documents which you feel might support your position. Be mindful that this is not a judicial hearing. No one providing information will be placed under oath or be subject to cross-examination. This hearing is not intended to be a reconsideration of the decision made by the city manager to reassign you and ultimately terminate your position with the city. That being said, the city manager is not available to you for purposes of this hearing. The city council will not respond to the information presented at this hearing. Please limit your presentation to the issue at hand, which is to refute statements made in connection with your reassignment and or separation from the city. When your time is expired, I will let you know and to please conclude your presentation.
Mayor, before he starts his presentation, we object to your attempt to include within the name clearing hearing the termination. This addresses only the demotion and the public demeanment of Dr. Hani's career and Dr. Tohme's career, and it does not address the May 12th termination at all. The May 12th termination is subject to a separate letter, so a separate issue, and to a separate grievance and request for due process here. Thank you.
Yes, sir, the name clearing hearing can be as you state, no problem.
Mayor and Council, good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. In the last 9 years, I've established an excellent relationship with those of you that I have worked with, and I was able to do that because we had the common objective of provide superior customer services and safe potable water to the citizens of Beaumont while protecting public health and the environment. As you all know from your individual experiences with me, I am a true public servant. I was highly dedicated to my job, and I was strongly committed to the city of Beaumont. I made professional and personal sacrifices to make sure that your constituents were served properly. We are having this name clearing hearing today because Mr. Hayes intentionally trashed my competency as an engineer, department head, and leader in the media and to the mayor and council, so everyone will doubt me when I tell the truth. Because I refuse to be a part of any discrimination, Mr. Hayes fabricated stories, created situations, and paid for a bogus audit to set me up for failure in order to cover up his discriminatory actions against the African American employees of the Water Department, especially Frank Jackson and George Randall, two of the most dedicated employees the city of Beaumont ever had in its history. We would not be having this conversation today if I was awarded the opportunity to speak to you during a work session the councilwoman, Get Williams Wright, requested. We probably would not be having this conversation today if I was awarded my presence was awarded at that executive session you all had, when Mr. Hayes brought in two consultants from the city of Houston that knew very little about the water department, but had a strong personal interest in giving you a negative report about that department. Instead of allowing the person who knew the most about the water department to explain to you the facts, the city manager chose to silence me when I provided him with the evidence that the CH2M Hill audit was based on wrong data that he had personally provided to them. The city manager even expressed that during the February 10, 2015 council meeting, when Councilwoman Get Williams Wright asked Hani Tohme needs to come speak to us at council. Mr. Hayes' response was, that is not going to happen. Obviously, the city manager did not know about my constitutional rights, and I have to hire an attorney to be able to come and speak to you today. While preparing for this meeting, I determined that I have two topics I can speak on. One, the reasons behind why the city manager did what he did, such as me refusing to do the things that are not in the best interest of the city of Beaumont, me refusing to accommodate personal interests at the expense of the city's interest, his fear and jealousy of my abilities, which 3 council members have personally told me is a problem with Mr. Hayes, or his strong conviction based on gut feelings that the water department employees are stealing overtime. The second topic I could speak on today is dispute the allegations made against me and the water department employees using facts and physical evidence. I choose to spend my 45 minutes, which I object to strongly, because no person should be given only 45 minutes to explain the events of 2 years. But I chose to use those 45 minutes to actually speak about the facts. As per the city manager, I was demoted because of excessive overtime issues, work efficiency matters, and budgetary concerns that have been discussed with me numerous times. Please, throughout my talk, keep those 3 issues on your mind. The city manager started focusing on the water department on April 26, 2013. Few months after Council Member Smith introduced me to a group of people at Lamar University as the future and next city manager. And few months after the rumors started spreading throughout the city, especially the police department, that Hani Tohme is after Carl Hayes' job, Mr. Hayes sent me the following email on 4/26/2013. Effective July 1st, 2013, I do not want any employees in the water department or solid waste division working more than 20 hours of overtime in any given period without prior approval from me. You have 2 months to make the necessary changes within your operational divisions. To make this work, Laura, Lily, and I stand ready to work with you and your staff through this transitional period. Please do not respond to this email. Please do not respond to this email. If you would like to discuss this matter further, we can sit down and visit. The directive will not change. The directive will not change. However, there are many options available to us which will allow for the same productivity within the department. You do an incredible job for the city of Beaumont, and this new policy directive does not reflect on anything you have done. I requested a meeting to discuss the many options that are available to us to maintain the same productivity with a lot less hours than we are allowed to have. On May 2nd, we had that meeting. I told the city manager, since 2001, the water department lost 48 positions due to the layoffs that he did and due to positions he deleted throughout the years. And if we to drop the overtime to the level he wants to drop it to, without affecting the operation and maintaining that productivity, we need 24 new positions. And that was based on analyzing 2 years of data of overtime. The city manager proceeded to tossing the study back at me without looking at it and telling me we cannot afford new positions. You are a smart guy. Figure it out. On May 30th, we had another meeting because no one provided me with any extra solutions and methods and ways to keep the productivity without the extra hours. During that meeting, I was provided 12 new positions. The main purpose was to lower the overtime of the general foreman, especially Frank Jackson. It was impossible to hire within 1 month these positions, fill these positions, buy people equipment to put them in. But I knew that the city manager July 1st directive was not going to change because the city managers don't like going back on what he said. So, no matter what the cost was going to be, I have to abide by that directive. That cost ended up being $630,000 to catch up using contractors for water and sewer repairs, and $347,000 to catch up on street repairs caused by water cuts. Knowing that the manager's decision was made without any planning and no options were offered to me to have the same productivity like requested on June 26, 2013, although I was told not to respond via email, so there will be no paper trail, I sent the city manager an email informing him that we are unable to buy equipment and hire new people in such a short period of time. That email also said, the overtime changes we are implementing will negatively affect the water utilities department in the following ways. 1, financially, the department cannot afford at this time to hire more people, buy more equipment. The revenue bill is below projections and expenditures are above the 2013 budgeted amount. If this summer we choose to hire contractors to keep up with the work orders and respond to customer complaints in a timely manner, the expenditures will exceed finances projections. In addition, hiring more people will not significantly reduce the overtime expenditures to justify the hires because overtime is driven by the system's demand. 2, the quality of customer services we provide will decline. You felt that already. 3, the response time to customer complaints will increase. You felt that already. 4, the employees' morale at water utilities will decline drastically, which in turn will affect productivity. It's there. 5, the overtime changes in such a short period of time will create dramatic financial hardship to the men and women of water utilities. If these men and women's dedication, commitment, and knowledge that brought the water utilities department to an operational and productivity level never experienced before, and saved the public from catastrophic health hazards by maintaining water and sanitary sewer services in the city during several disasters. In addition, these men and women adopted new job duties by creating construction crews that are saving the city millions of dollars a year. 6, water utilities will lose experienced staff to other cities and jobs, and this trend started this week. 7, hiring more people and supplying them with equipment will require an additional 1 to 2% rate increase to the city's water and sewer rate effective October 1st, 2013. In order to continue our capital program, pay for the automatic meter reading, and recover the revenue deficit from this budget year, the rate increase this year will have to be 9 to 10% if it is approved by council. If we hire new employees, buy additional equipment, and the council does not approve a 9 or 10% rate increase, then the cut will have to take place from the capital program, which will delay the construction of needed projects. 8, the overtime changes will create a work order backlog that will require additional funding to contract it out or will take several months to get under control. It all happened. Since I was given the directive regarding the overtime, I have been trying to find a way to make it work without affecting the department's productivity, finances, and quality of customer service. Unfortunately, with the resources I have been given to accomplish this task, the time frame, and the seasonal systems demand, it is impossible not to cause serious damage to all these aspects of the department. Therefore, my stance regarding this matter is still as follows. 1, we should not implement these changes at this time because they will affect the department financially at a time when our finances for the first time in years are not where they should be. 2, if we are to implement these changes, we should give the employees who made this department what it is sufficient time to determine how they are going to survive financially. Yes, I am for the employees because they made the department what it is. 3, the overtime at Water Utilities is justified because our number one objective is to protect the public's health and safety while abiding by state and federal regulations. We are accomplishing this objective on a daily basis with licensed people for a reasonable cost. To reduce the overtime to 10 hours per employee per week by hiring necessary help or contracting the work out will cost the city millions of dollars, while the entire overtime budget is less than $1.2 million a year. My loyalty is to the city of Beaumont and its best interest is what I fight to protect every second of every day. After meeting with finance and discussing the revenue and expenditures and their concerns, as the director of the department, I find it my responsibility to express my opinion on this matter one more time, because I've screamed it for several months before. If this don't clear me, I don't know what will. I did not even receive a response to this email. I did not even receive a call about this email. Instead, on July 16, 2013, the city manager hires 3 more people at Streets and Drainage to fix water and sewer cuts at the expense of the water department. By July 22, 2013, the backlog was at 347. The standard is under 100. By July 31st, the city manager made the decision to contract the backlog out. City attorney said we have to bid it. On August 5th, 2013, I sent the city manager the following email. Ladies and gentlemen, I meant to discuss the 2014 revenue projections in the meeting, but I forgot. It is my understanding that we are assuming that the city will recover the revenue lost this year, the 5%, because we didn't see it, in the 2014 fiscal year, bringing the projected revenue to 11%, because we were going to do another 6% on October 1st. So the finance department is projecting to have an 11% increase. I think we need to have a plan B in case we do not reach these projections. If you can give this some thought, and we will discuss it in our next meeting, because the projections were not correct. I tried to explain to the city manager that studies have shown that the reduction in revenue in water utilities were due to the drought that we experienced the year before, and that caused people to go into conservation, and that caused people to use less water. He would not listen, and the mid-year rate increase, if you all remember, was necessary to even keep up with the revenue and the projections. In August 2013, the department was experiencing 10 blowouts a day, so we couldn't continue working at the 10 hours per week per employee. I kept the city manager informed at all times, and he responded by email saying, we always have to respond to emergencies and do what it takes. As the backlog grew to 475 on August 19, 2013, 45 days into it, the city manager authorized the employees to work 15 hours, per employee per week in overtime. He also said emergencies are another issue and they have to be handled. August 27, 2013, during the council budget meeting, Mr. Hayes told the council the following. 1, new employees would hopefully resolve the overtime problem. 2, revenue is $2.3 million less than projected revenue. Therefore, transfer to the general fund was reduced by $1.3 million to help the fund. That's partially what all this is about. How much can we take from the water department to subsidize the general fund? 3, revenue reduction is due to mild springs, less watering, and pool filling. This is a completely wrong statement because that year it rained 13 inches less than the year before. Fund balance was higher years ago. It was. 12 new positions were created at the $670,000 cost. Similar to that $717,000 I've been hammered on that I'm going over budget on. Record drought and aging infrastructure is causing leaks. We need people to fix them. The city manager increased the expenditures regardless of all the signs that he shouldn't have and regardless of me opposing it. By September 17, 2013, the backlog was over 600. The city attorney authorized some emergency contracts without bidding, and the city manager removed the overtime restrictions for 30 days. Again, this was a cost of $630,000 on the water sewer and $347,000 on the street patching. Just because the city manager did not want to change his directive. By September 25th, 2013, we still did not have equipment for the new hires. October 17th, 2013, the restrictions of overtime that Mr. Hayes lifted for 30 days expired. I let him know we have 391 work orders on the backlog, and he kept the restrictions lifted. January 7th, 2014, I emailed Mr. Hayes what was accomplished from the 2013 objectives for the year, and on January 15th, 2014, I told him what our objectives are for the upcoming year. The accomplishments and objectives included pipe construction goals, sanitary sewer lift station rehabilitation goals, pipe cleaning goals, and maintenance crew goals. Carl responded with good goals for 2014 and good status report related to 2013 objectives. Mr. Hayes approved the department's program that we were on and the expenditures we were doing and the rehabilitations we were performing. On February 19, 2014, I met with the city manager, discussed the hiring of the new general foreman he wanted me to hire, and what would the proposed pay be. At that time, he had the positions on hold, and he wanted to release 3 out of the 12 positions to lower the foreman's overtime, specifically Frank Jackson. February 26, 2014, I received an email from the city manager directing the operation of the department. He told me to hire 2 water general foremen, which 2 to hire, how much to pay them, which was $21 an hour. He also acknowledged in that email the financial constraints within the water department. So we have financial constraints, but let's keep hiring people. February 27, 2014, I emailed Mr. Hayes, asking him about the sewer general foreman position, and he responded with, not yet. We discussed it yesterday. However, we wanted to take one step at a time. We are open for suggestions on the sewer side. The city manager and specific department heads were running the water department from City Hall, making the changes that caused the $717,000 that is so published in the newspapers and on the media, saying this is what Dr. Tohme is going over budget by, and we have to move him out of the way. February 27, 2014, recently hired general foreman rejected the $21 an hour. They don't want to take it. February 28, 2014, the chief finance officer sent me an email about the bond sale. In that email she said, I don't see us being able to issue more than $10 million given the current situation with the revenue. There is so much uncertainty. But let's keep spending and hiring people and buying equipment. The 12 new positions authorized were put on hold and off hold several times. In the February 26, 2014 email, I was told to hire only Barry Burns and Peter Thomas. A few days later, on March 4, 2014, Chris Catalina, our journalist, informed me that the city manager authorized to fill all the positions that we have vacant. So I called the city manager and asked him what is going on. I thought we decided everything's gonna be on hold. And he responded with, we're going to try and fill all the vacant positions that we can. We need to get those crews filled and working. I will work with Chris on another offer related to general foreman positions. As if Chris Catalina runs the water department, he should decide how much people should be making. There has been a lack of planning since April 2013. The city manager changed things regularly without a plan. 2 days after the city manager, 2 days after the city manager finally released all the positions he had authorized and still have not made the general foreman an offer that they accepted, he calls me and tells me that he is frustrated that what he wanted to happen in the last 9 months did not happen. And he will have to dig deeper in some cases and just force it. He also told me that I had 12 positions open since October 2013, and I only hired 1 position. When I told him he had these positions on and off hold, he denied it. Thank God for emails and recordings. The city manager was very aggressive, even used the word damn with me during that conversation. I was being scolded while he did not give me the tools I needed to follow his directive of lowering overtime and keeping the same productivity. On March 17, 2014, we had 233 work orders on the backlog, still not catching up. In March, I was informed by the city manager he has been meeting with the water department employees to get their opinions on the matter. It just happened that he met only with the white employees. He did not ask the African American employees with 25 plus years of experience their opinion. I was also told that the city manager had Jim Thompson meeting with the contractors that are helping us catch up because he did not want to change his directive and cause the backlog that cost the city almost $1 million. Costing the city more money because Jim Thompson told the contractor and told him, hey, we need to put more crews together to help us catch up faster. More of managing the department from City Hall. March 20th, 2014, Mr. Hayes let me know that the designer 2 position is on hold until the war fund is doing better. So I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what that plan is. March 24th, 2014, Mr. Hayes finally made an offer to the new general foreman that they accepted. The general foreman with 25 plus years of experience were brought up to the pay of the new hires when they were expected to train them without any compensation for their years of experience. $25 an hour. It just happened, Mr. Hayes also offered $2 more an hour for employees with double license. It just happened, it only affected 1 white general foreman with the least amount of experience, and he wasn't even using his second license. It was not until March 24, 2014, when the city manager finally provided me 10 of the 24 positions I said I needed to abide by his directive to limit the overtime and keep the same productivity. 10. The 12 changed to 10. 2 weeks after the city manager finally approved the general foreman pay, excuse me, in a meeting on April 7, 2014, he told me that the culture at the water department is employees going home during the day and sleeping, and working at night to make the overtime. The allegation was based on an employee who we had terminated because he could not pass a drug test in a deposition. When I told him it is insulting to the hard-working men and women to say that this is their culture, he got upset and said the deposition says it all. Really? Is that how you all believe your men and women at water utilities behave? During that meeting, he threatened my job and Mark's job by saying if we do not fix the overtime, he will bring people from the outside to run the department. It is obvious now that this was the only plan he actually had. April 7th, 2014, a 3rd water general foreman was authorized to make sure Frank Jackson is not making too much overtime. In an email dated April 9th, 2014, Mr. Hayes said, the goal is for the general foreman not to work more than 10 hours of overtime per week. I do agree that the more general foreman positions that you can get into the rotation, the better. Let's continue to hire people, train them, fill the crew leaders' positions. The city manager had no budgetary concerns. All he cared about was to lower the pay of certain employees at any cost. We hired 3 general foremen at a cost of $180,000 to make sure Frank Jackson does not make an extra $40,000 a year. That's real good business sense. On April 25th, 2014, the city manager eliminated another position. And all these eliminations never went through me. May 9th, 2014, the city manager, for the first time, visited the War Department crews in the field. He said, it was really nice visiting with them and watching them work. They are a very dedicated group of employees. 30 days earlier, they had a culture of stealing overtime, according to him. On May 22nd, 2014, Kristen Mattingly with the Finance Department expressed concerns about the budget of the Streets and Drainage Group that was fixing War Department street patches. They were projected to be over budget by $160,000, and they were working 83% on overtime. TAL imposed that expenditure on the War Department by moving street patching to Streets and Drainage when city utilities used to do it. The War Department had no control over that expenditure, zero. May 23rd, 2014, I informed Mr. Hayes that the War Department is now fully staffed with 8 water crews and 4 sewer crews, with the exception of 1 crew leader position. I asked if he wanted me to proceed with limiting the crew leaders' overtime to 10 hours per week, per employee. He answered with, let's have a discussion about it. June 18, 2014, I met with finance over the 2015 budget. They prepared for us. In the meeting, I expressed my concerns over all the additional expenditures added to the budget in order to abide by the overtime objective. I also talked about the revenue not meeting the budget expectations. Laura asked me to stay after the meeting. She got emotional, even was raising her voice at me, because she was so stressed about the water fund that's fixing to give her a nervous breakdown because of all these additional expenditures imposed by the city manager. Finance did not agree with the additional expenditures, just like me. But it's very difficult to object when your job will be in jeopardy if you do. Look what happened to me. June 30th, 2014, I emailed Mr. Hayes an overtime summary for April 28th through June 22nd. And I also told him that these are numbers during low season. If we have a hot summer, these numbers will go up. Mr. Hayes did not complain or comment on the email. July 24th, 2014, Mr. Hayes eliminated a sewer collection and maintenance laborer position. August 2014, we were experiencing a large number of blowouts. We were exceeding the 10 hours of overtime per week allotted. I informed Mr. Hayes and asked for his permission to keep working. He approved. August 29th, 2014, backlog 158, hard summary. 3 months after we became fully staffed, and during the busiest month of the year, June, July, August, I informed Mr. Hayes on August 19, 2014, that the water general foreman overtime are ranging between 4.5 to 18 hours per week, and the sewer are between 11.5 and 15.5 hours per week. A significant drop from previous years. Significant drop. On August 20th, 2014, Mr. Hayes inquired about why is Frank Jackson working on August 11th and August 12th and he is not on duty. It was always about Frank. Mr. Hayes never directly inquired about any other employee but Frank Jackson. On August 25th, 2014, I told Mr. Hayes we have 1 more general foreman that got his license. Now we have 5 on the rotation for water, and the overtime is going to drop some more. August 29th, 2014, I informed Mr. Hayes that we are having low pressure and low chlorine issues in the Corley area, and I have to have Frank Jackson's expertise to address this problem because we had 3 large valves broke that needed to be replaced. He responded with, send the foreman on call, or two of the other 2 new general foremen. How is someone ever going to get the needed experience? You and Mark can go out there and supervise if needed, because we're on salary and we don't get extra money. Frank Jackson worked 33 hours, 8 hours, and 52 hours of overtime the last 3 weeks. Not good. Mr. Hayes' numbers were not very accurate, and he does not understand the business and what it takes to train people, but still wants to micromanage the department that deals with public health and safety on a regular basis, and when things go wrong, he wants to blame it on me. He would rather another foreman get additional hours by working with the foreman on duty, as long as it was not Frank Jackson. Frank might have worked more hours during certain periods of time, because the system's demand required his experience and knowledge, public health and safety related. However, his weekly average during that period of time was about 18 hours. His weekly average from 10/6/2014 until 2/1/2015 when I left was at 15 hours. This has considerably dropped as a result of the changes we already made, with 10 instead of 24 people. The foreman on duty did not feel comfortable doing that job on call without Frank. It was not done immediately as needed to protect public health and safety. We had to delay that job. August 29, 2014, I informed Mr. Hayes via email of the following. Mathematically, to cover the hours we have to cover, it is impossible to do it with the number of people that we have, and remain and abide by the 10 hours of overtime per week per employee. I also asked him to please advise if he would like city utilities to make any changes to the current schedule that he directed, or the operation or the response hours. Mr. Hayes, again, did not respond to this email. He did not propose to change anything. September 24, 2014, Mr. Hayes informed me that he executed a contract with CH2M Hill to audit the War Department and send me a request for information from them. September 30, 2014, we lost the maintenance division manager, and a week later we lost his assistant. All Mark was asking for after working with us and training him was $3,000. Mr. Hayes denied him that raise. Mr. Hayes put Mark's and his assistant's position on hold, and he told me I need to do their duties now, and that would give me the opportunity to work closer to the general foreman, consequently leaving me to do the job, my job, and the job of 2 other people. This move was intentional because he was already planning on bringing Mr. Fred Richardson into the equation. September 24, 2014, a labor position was released that was put on hold. On September 30, 2014, I emailed Mr. Hayes the following. As the City Utilities Director, I should have the ability to direct the workforce and manage the department as I see necessary to protect the public health and provide safe drinking water. At this time, I'm restricted in areas such as overtime and filling positions critical to the operation. My inability to direct the city utilities workforce as I deem necessary is affecting the quality of customer service. For example, last week, the blowout on Major Drive that caused the brown water in the West End, I mean, you have to remember that one, was being worked by Frank Jackson. At 4:30, he had to go home and turn the job back into the supervisor on duty. The experience of the supervisor on duty was not sufficient to avoid the crisis that developed overnight. This morning, a fire line busted at Parkdale Mall. Supervisor on duty did not have an experience to shut it off. It flooded the whole entrance of Parkdale Mall, all the way to the middle area. On August 29th, you asked me, how is someone ever going to get the needed experience? The water and wastewater industry is a diversified business. Hundreds, if not thousands, of different scenarios can arise, and some of them can be a challenge to the most experienced. It takes years to train employees on the different types of failures and on learning the system they are working with. City Utilities has been training the new general foreman for a few years now, prior to their promotion, to be able to provide support for Frank Jackson, and they still face challenges on a daily basis that they need direction for. In conclusion, I'm following the directives I have been given as much as possible with the resources I have available. However, I want to make sure that I will not be held responsible for system failures that I do not have the authority to act on as I see necessary. Let me tell you what the response to this email was. A phone call that said, I am sick and tired of your email, and you are no longer allowed to email me. That was the next day when I sent this email. I told him that I have to protect myself because I do not know his objective and his agenda. and public health and safety is my responsibility. October 20th, 2014, I was informed by Mr. Hayes that now I am in charge of trash off day, as if I did not have enough to do with all the people I'm having to cover for and the issues and challenges we were having. On October 23rd, 2014, Frank Jackson and George Randall were offered $75,000 a year to go on salary so they can be worked without pay on overtime. They refused the offer because of the number of hours they would have to work and the attached responsibilities. After my demotion, they were forced to accept $68,000 in salary without even discussing it with them, other than a phone call from Lily Davin, I think, that told them, that's where you are today. November 10th, 2014, Lily informed me that Mark Ochoa and his assistant's position will be on hold till after the audit. That meant I still have to do my job and their job and trash off day and everything else I have to deal with on a daily basis. Mr. Hayes that day also eliminated another position. December 3rd, 2014, Carl informed me that CH2 Hill will be in town and sent me a list of names they want to meet with and I was to prepare a schedule. Guess whose name was not on the list? The director of the department. One of the CH2M Hill people on their last day here walked in my office and asked if he can meet me without even anything, just asked if he can see me. So I took him in and sat down and talked to him. And he said, there's no way they can audit a department without talking to its director. When they ask about me, they're being told by the city manager that I'm too busy. He said, I cannot leave Beaumont without meeting the man behind that operation. We have never been to a place where customer service is so superior in terms of water department utilities services. I have not been to a place where the employees have so much passion for what they do. That is very rare. And I have never been to a place where people did so much with so little. He congratulated me on my accomplishments and told me if I ever need a job to give him a call. January 9, 2015, Mr. Hayes told me that CH2 and Hill recommended that Mark's position be filled with a project construction management degree person. I told him it's already in the job description. Mr. Hayes ended up hiring Mr. Fred Richardson, who has no college degree. January 15, 2015, I emailed back Mr. Hayes the backlog of 51 calls. January 16, the city manager came to my office with the attorney, not a very common occurrence. And he sat there on as his witness to tell me that the audit is not in favor of the water department or my favor. And if I'm not willing to make the necessary changes, he wants me to make, he does not need me, although I bring a lot of value to the team. Carl said he should have the final audit report before the end of the week, and he will send it to me. Mr. Hayes also told me that Frank Jackson worked the New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, holiday, and he shouldn't have. I told him he was on duty. He responded, I don't care, and people should not be working on a holiday. As I tried to explain to him that we are a 24-hour operation, he interrupted me and said, Frank Jackson cannot work overtime for the next 30 days. And in 30 days, I will reassess and decide if he can go back to working overtime. At that time, Frank Jackson was averaging 15 hours a week of overtime, way lower than he has ever done. I told him I will see what the changes he wants me to make are, and then I will decide what I will do, because I'm not going to sell my values for any job. 2:51 p.m., I received an email from Mr. Hayes summarizing the meeting and talking about the audit. Most of the email was about Frank Jackson. It included information that was false, and for the first time since all this started, the city manager talked about efficiency, and he gave me more responsibilities and duties. Do this report, look into this, manage that. January 16, 2015, Mr. Hayes emailed me the audit report. January 19, he called me into his office. The manager started the meeting by telling me that his gut feelings told him we have issues at the water department, and that audit proves he is right. And we will have to make a lot of changes, and it will take us months to do them, and if I'm not on board, he does not need me. I don't know how many times my job was threatened throughout this process. I advised him not to make any changes based on this audit, because it is based on wrong information, and it will backfire on him, me, council, and the citizens. Just tell me you haven't felt that backfire yet. Mr. Hayes asked what information is wrong. I told him I have not yet dissected it. However, the 207 work orders they claim the water repair crews did are actually 690. And that will change the entire content of the audit. And I do not know where they got these numbers from, because we gave them 2 years of data that ended in September of 2014. The entire audit was based on numbers from October 2014. In addition, you do not audit the department using only September 2014. How about we audit your performance based on 1 month on your council? 2 minutes?
We don't have to clear it off for tonight, because you can take another 10 minutes.
Can I have another 10 minutes?
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Stop the clock and you see what I was. I haven't lost my sense of humor throughout all this, which is something you all are used to with me. Mr. Hayes said he might have given them the numbers. He said, no way it is wrong, and I need to prove it. He didn't ask CH2ML to prove the numbers in his audit and where they came up with all that information, but I had to prove it. Mr. Hayes said in all cases, we are moving forward with the changes. Whether you prove it or not, doesn't matter what you have to say, Hani. We're moving forward with the changes. And the first thing we will change are the schedules. He gave me the shift work schedules he wanted, effective February 2nd, 2015. And he said, we will meet next week. I said, yes, sir. Started working on the schedules immediately. CH2M Hill only audited the water repair crews, who are managed by Frank Jackson. There was nothing about anybody else in the entire department. On January 21st, 2015, Mr. Hayes asked for a paper copy of the October 2014 monthly report to send it to CH2M Hill to clarify their numbers on pages 6 and 7 of the audit report. 6 and 7 is where they had that information about the 107 work orders instead of 690. It appears that Mr. Hayes gave CH2M Hill the wastewater department's monthly report for October 2014. They used 4 out of 24 tasks listed as if they were work orders and assumed the task numbers were work orders and performed the whole audit on them. And there's a huge difference between tasks and work orders. Can't even compare. The monthly report don't even include everything within the month because we prepare it in the middle of the month so the city manager can get it at a certain time. In summary, they said the water maintenance crews performed 207 work orders in October 2014, while they actually completed 690 work orders. 3.7 times more than the numbers used in the audit. Everyone at this council and the mayor, if you look at that audit and you look at my response, you will know that audit was no good. January 27, 2015, Mr. Hayes called me and said, let us delay the schedule implementation till February 9th, and we will meet next week to discuss the schedule again. At this point, he still did not receive my response to the audit that would prove it is bogus and cannot be used. January 27th, I sent my response to the audit. Between January 28th and February 1st, the city manager was on vacation. He returns to the office February 2nd. On February 3rd, this is the value that a department director that has served you so strongly deserves. Mr. Hayes sends Chris German to my office around 2:30 p.m. in the afternoon to hand me my demotion letter, which stated I, as well as my administrative assistant, an employee of 30 plus years, needed to be out of our offices by 9 p.m. the next day, which I knew he meant 9 a.m. I wasn't even given enough time to move my stuff out of my office. He told Dr. Majdalani to tell me the next day that if I'm not out of my office by 9 a.m., it is insubordination and grounds for termination. That's the treatment one of your directors received. The question is why did Kyle go from we will meet next week to discuss the schedule to demoting me when he saw the response to the audit? Did he realize that the response with supporting documentation will prove him wrong and he already told council that the War Department is messed up and he will have to make all kinds of changes to fix it and save the money. Mr. Hayes had planned to bring in the consultants to tell me what I needed to do to improve the War Department. They were there on the morning of the 4th, when I was supposed to be out of there by 9 a.m. Carl knew that I would stand up against anything they tried to implement that would jeopardize public health and safety, as well as the city's interests. So he had to move me out of the way. On May 12, 2015, a War Department supporter was my voice at this council, and he read, "It is not the overall overtime budget. It is not a dollar amount for the department. It is strictly the amount that these certain employees are making," something that was said to me by Mr. Hayes. This is a statement on a recording which proves Mr. Hayes' discrimination against the African American employees. In retaliation, Mr. Hayes terminated me that day while I was under the doctor's care for stress, depression, and anxiety caused by his actions towards me in the past year and a half. I still had time to be off, and the employees were donating hours to me. 4 days after my FMLA expired, I was terminated. On May 11, 2015, I received a letter from the Human Resources Department requesting a return to work status report by May 13, 2015. I haven't even had the chance to get them that, and I was terminated the day before. In conclusion, the conspiracy against me started on May 26, 2013, when I was asked to continue having the same productivity without the overtime hours needed, because I'm a smart guy and I need to figure it out. The July 1st, 2013 directive cost the city $630,000 for water and sewer repairs, $347,000 for street repairs. That was not in the budget because the city manager had no plan. The only directive that I was given was to lower the overtime hours worked by the employees, especially Frank Jackson. I accomplished that task for many of the employees with 10 additional people instead of the 24 that were needed. In his January 2016, 2015 email, the city manager mentioned efficiency for the first time by saying, "I would like to know your ideas on having alternative work schedules that will cover the weekends and evening hours, which would reduce overtime, in my opinion, result in much needed efficiency." This statement shows that the city manager does not understand the meaning of efficiency. The overtime budget and the overall department budget were never brought to my attention as an issue. As a matter of fact, the city manager stated they aren't an issue. I was wrongfully terminated because I refused to discriminate against anyone. Because my name pleading hearing was going to expose Mr. Hayes' discriminatory actions and wasteful spending practices. Because I refused to put public health and safety at risk to save money. Because a water department supporter was my voice at council on February 12, 2015, and spoke the truth, and Mr. Hayes found it necessary to retaliate against me. I was wrongfully terminated, so Mr. Hayes can portray me as a disgruntled former employee as I put the truth out to the public, media, and the council. Mayor and council, the changes that the city manager implemented since February 4th, 2015, lowered the quality of services, put public health and safety in jeopardy, drastically reduced productivity, and forced the loss of many experienced employees to retirement or new jobs. Employees we've trained for many, many years. The difference is fundamental between me and Mr. Hayes. I am an engineer, and my code of ethics requires me to place public health and safety before money. He is more interested in saving money and lowering Frank Jackson's pay, regardless of the impact it has on public health, budget, and safety. Today, the War Department is collapsing. The men and women who served me with so much dedication are screaming for your help. They are begging for your help. And stand still and give them no attention. I beg you to conduct an investigation and show the employees and your constituents you will do the right thing. Do I have some more time?
4 minutes.
Since I have 4 minutes, I'd like to address a few things as well. I have heard there's a lot of things being said about me. True or false, I do not know, so I'm not going to pinpoint anything. But one of the things that has been pointed towards me is the water treatment plant had change orders that Dr. Tohme has authorized without the approval of council. These are allegations that are very strong, but very false at the same time. I, in the position I was in, was much smarter than doing something like that without getting the approval of the city manager. I knew what is facing me. I knew the position he was taking against me. And those allegations are false, and I can prove that they are false. The second thing I want to add, another rumor saying that Hani Tohme applied for the city manager position for Arthur, and he wasn't even addressed or even made the top 10 cut. Do you know that when that happened, first of all, I applied for that position because I have 2 friends on that council that asked me to apply. That is why I applied. Mr. Hayes took me and Patrick Donner to lunch at Jason's Deli. And before he could even sit down to eat, the first thing came out of his mouth, I heard you applied for the city manager position, City for Arthur. And that is correct. I did apply for that position because we have 2 council members that are my friends. One of them is here today, and they asked me to apply, and I applied. And frankly, to be honest with you, Kyle, I don't even qualify to be a city manager. I'm an engineer, I'm a water sewer guy, I don't even qualify for that position. He tells me, yes you do, you need to pursue that job. You only hear the side of the stories that you all are supposed to hear due to a certain agenda. The men and women of water utilities deserve enough respect for you to conduct an investigation. You have enough information, you have enough data, and you have enough backfiring from the actions since February 4, 2015 for you to do that investigation. Would you like to add something? Thank you all very much for your time. I do appreciate it.
I think Dr. Tohme has said it well. And you don't have to do anything. That's the neat thing. All you do is stop, look, and listen. And the city of Beaumont keeps going on as it has been under this tragedy.
Thank you, Mr. Watt. Council, we are now adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
So I appreciate it.